Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off talking about questionable Nintendo Switch emulator Ziunx, and it appears that Ziunx is dead. So here's their note on Telegram, and for reference, I do not have Telegram. This was sent to me. Hello guys, I didn't like that one day I can say this, but we officially discontinuing Ziunx and there will not be any future updates. The reason behind it is that the GitHub repo has got banned due to a Nintendo DMCA because of the PayPal link. And right now the repo is private and there was a lot of difficulties in the development, and it's hard to continue knowing that one day Nintendo might just sue you. And it was a dumb decision for me to make PayPal. To be honest with you, this one is a little bit confusing, not because of the emulator dying, but the circumstances surrounding it. I mean, if it was banned, if the repo was banned due to a DMCA, I don't know how it would be private right now. I figured it would be banned. Anyways, whether or not it did get banned or the developers just didn't want to work on it anymore, Ziunx appears to be dead. And even more interestingly, the standalone GitHub repository for Ziunx is still up and active. Version 7 is the latest release there. Now, I don't recommend Ziunx. I find it highly questionable, and this emulator dying I wouldn't really say has any impact on the overall Switch emulation scene. And speaking about questionable Switch emulators, next up we're talking about Nyushi. Now, I don't know a whole lot about Nyushi. I've not tested this one out. It's not on GitHub, but version 0.0.400 just released. From my understanding, this is yet another fork of Yuzu, and it exists on Telegram. Now, there are a bunch of Nyushi videos on YouTube, and I would argue at this point in time I don't necessarily see a massive performance boost over something like Yuzu. The fact that this isn't open source, it's on Telegram and not anywhere else, tells me that this is highly questionable. If you know more about this thing, let me know in the comments below. And continuing to talk about questionable emulators, next up we're talking about PS5 emulation on Android, and no surprise, this one is 100% fake. It's called PS5 Games Emulator. It is on Google Play and follows the same normal formula. There is no rating because it's in early access, and it does contain ads. So basically, the developer makes money from people testing this thing out even though it's fake. I was sent this one from a few people and I was debating on whether or not to talk about it, but it's got over 10,000 downloads, so over 10,000 people have been fooled by this. It also doesn't help when there's posts like this on Twitter. Guys, look at this real emulator I found to emulate. Wait, a PS5 game. The PS5 has at least one game. And it shows what looks to be the emulator up and running very smoothly with a PS5 game. However, that same person says they know they opened it and then immediately uninstalled it for the shitpost, but I can tell you as soon as I opened it, my phone slowed down. Doubt anyone would believe it's real anyway. Well, over 10,000 people may disagree with that. And no surprise here, the same developer has another app on the Google Play Store called PSP PS2 Simulator Pro. Again, reviews cannot be left because it's an early access app. And it does contain ads, so they get paid when people install it. I'll say this before and I'll say it again. Just because an app is on the Google Play Store does not mean it's real. There's a lot of fake stuff out there. For example, basically all of these. There are fake apps out there for over 1 million downloads. Apps we've talked about before, exposed, and they're still up on the Google Play Store. It doesn't appear that Google actually cares about taking down fake stuff. But speaking about 1 million downloads and shifting from fake to 100% real, next up we're talking about Lemuroid, and Lemuroid just got a brand new update. For those who may not be aware, Lemuroid is a multi-system emulator. It's basically an easy mode version of RetroArch, and here's what's new. They've migrated the mobile UI to Jetpack Compose. They've improved the HD upscaling algorithm. They've updated cores and databases. They've got a few fixes here and even more. So if RetroArch is too intimidating for you, or you don't like configuring it, you find it a hassle, or you just want to try something else, Lemuroid may be worth checking out. I'll drop a link to it in the description below. But speaking about upscaling, next up we're talking about PlayStation 2 emulation with PCSX2, and PCSX2 got a small update here that some people may be very excited about. So with one of their latest updates, they've uncapped the upscaling multiplier. They say it removes the arbitrary 8 times limit from the UI, allowing for a maximum of 12 times if show advanced options is not enabled. Otherwise, whatever your GPU's texture size limit is. And this should go without saying, increasing the upscaling multiplier is going to impact performance. So if your computer was struggling before to run PCSX2, if you increase the upscaling multiplier, it's going to struggle even more afterwards. Moving on, and we're talking about DOSBox X, which is a fork of the DOSBox project, and DOSBox X just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, the July 1st version of DOSBox X is the latest update here. And there are a whole bunch of tweaks, optimizations, and fixes, and I mean a whole bunch. This changelog is absolutely huge. I'll drop a link to this entire changelog in the description below, and feel free to check it out if you use DOSBox X. If you use DOSBox, you may want to check out DOSBox X and see how you like it. Next up, we're quickly talking about PlayStation Stars. Now, PlayStation Stars was announced back in July of 2022, so a while ago. It was an all-new loyalty program then. At a high level, they say Stars members will have opportunities to earn loyalty points. Points can be redeemed in a catalog that may include PSN wallet funds and select PlayStation Store products. And there's also stuff in here about digital collectibles. Anyways, it appears that PlayStation Stars is coming back. According to their website, PlayStation Stars will be returning soon in phased regional rollouts. Thank you for your patience, and we look forward to welcoming you back. Next up, we're shifting from PlayStation to Nintendo, and if you don't have Nintendo Online and you've tried it before, you can apparently try it again for a free 7-day trial. Nintendo has just launched this brand new campaign. I'll drop a link to it in the description below, and I guess feel free to check it out if you've got a Switch. It is worth noting, if you do use this, you may want to check to see if it automatically rolls into a monthly subscription. If it does, you'll have to pay attention if you wanted to cancel at the end of 7 days and not worry about things. Next up, we're quickly talking about Linux stuff, and if you use the KDE Plasma desktop environment, there is a brand new update. They've just updated it to version 6.1.2. This has a whole bunch of bug fixes and may be worth checking out if you are using KDE Plasma. And speaking about Plasma, next up we're talking about Nitrux, which just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, Nitrux 3.5.1 NM has just released. This latest release features the Liquorix version of Linux kernel 6.9 and also KDE Plasma 5.27 LTS. Next up, we're talking about Nexus Mods, and if you use Nexus Mods, they've got a brand new app here that they're currently testing out. At the time of filming, it only works for Stardew Valley, but they are looking for testers for both Windows and Linux, including the Steam Deck. Now, it's worth pointing out this is very early on in development and may have a whole bunch of bugs and issues. That's why they're asking people to help test it. They will be updating this app every 3 weeks. If you are curious about this one and wanted to learn more about it, I'll drop a link to the Nexus Mods page in the description below and feel free to check it out. And speaking about checking stuff out, next up we're talking about Foodfight, the video game. I'll drop a link to this article in the description below, and I do recommend checking it out. It is very detailed and a very interesting story. I'll read this sentence to provide some additional context. In 1997, Larry and Joshua of Threshold Entertainment had the idea for a movie titled Foodfight. It took 9 years to produce, 4 years to release, and is considered a colossal failure in the world of animation. And there's now a canceled video game that is seeing the light of day. Footage from this canceled game is up on YouTube. I'll drop a link to this YouTube video in the description below, and feel free to check it out. The game actually doesn't look too bad. The game was being developed between 2005 to 2007 by Cat Daddy Games, and it says after speaking with Cat Daddy's co-founder, they were kind enough to provide nearly 10 gigabytes of material from development of the game. All of this stuff is up on the Internet Archive, and I'll drop a link to this in the description below as well in the event that you wanted to learn more about it. Next up, we're talking about Netflix, and there's been a lot of rumble about Netflix lately, and not in a good way. Apparently, it's cutting its cheapest ad-free plan for some users, and apparently it's being rolled out in Canada right now. Now, I'm in Canada. I can assure you I'm on a very cheap Netflix plan, and I have not seen the advertisements or warnings that people have been getting. For more details, I'll drop a link to that article and this Reddit page in the description below, and feel free to check it out. I'm unsure as to this warning. I'm going to try booting up Netflix in the next couple of days, and maybe I'll get this as well. Basically, the $9.99 or $11.99 plan without ads does not exist anymore. And there's a couple of options here, $5.99 for a subscription with ads and $16.49 for a subscription without. So basically the price is jumping up a little bit. Next up, we're quickly talking about the Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. Now we talked about this one the other day when Capcom announced it, and a lot of people are excited about it and a lot of people are looking forward to it. The Steam store page is now up and there's something worth pointing out here. If I scroll down a little bit, it says it's coming out September 19th. And if I scroll down a little bit more, it says it incorporates Denuvo. Now in yesterday's video, we pointed out a brand new video on YouTube highlighting the differences between Denuvo and no Denuvo. The game increased in file size with Denuvo considerably, and loading times were also considerably affected. And yes, it appears that there was a difference in FPS overall. Now I dropped a link to that video in yesterday's video in the description, and I'll drop a link to it again in this description, so feel free to check it out. Next up, we're quickly talking about the Nintendo Switch, and a few people were asking what the latest update was because it was a rebootless update. And apparently it was Nintendo updating the Japanese bad words list to block a censor evading way to write 69. So that's really about it. And speaking about updates, next up we're quickly talking about Xbox Live. And Xbox had a pretty big live problem the other day. It was not live at all. One of their initial tweets was, "We are aware that some users have been disconnected from Xbox Live. We're investigating," and the investigation took a lot longer than they expected. Based on the timing of the tweets, it appears that people were knocked off Xbox Live for about a total of 7 hours, but apparently service has been restored. If you're still experiencing issues, let me know in the comments below. Next up is a quick heads up for some Adult Swim games that are being delisted on Steam as of July 15th. It says here that Adult Swim is no longer able to continue as publisher for the game, and the developer is not interested in taking over as publisher at this time. There are 4 games in total: Super House of Dead Ninjas, Mega Coin Squad, Traverser, and Zenzik. And these are all on sale right now for a pretty big discount. If you are curious about this one, I'll drop a link to Wario64's tweet in the description below because all of the links are in one place, and the games are discounted about 80%. Next up, if you use TEMU, you may want to pay attention to this. It may be nothing, it may be something. But Ars Technica is reporting that shopping app TEMU is dangerous malware spying on your text, as a brand new lawsuit claims. So the lawsuit says the TEMU app is dangerous malware, granting itself access to virtually all data on a user's cell phone. Specifically, TEMU is purposefully designed to gain unrestricted access to a user's phone operating system, including but not limited to a user's camera, specific location, contacts, text messages, documents, and other applications. If this wasn't concerning enough, it gets even more concerning here. TEMU is designed to make this expansive access undetected, even by sophisticated users. Once installed, TEMU can recompile itself and change properties, including overriding the data privacy settings users believe they have in place. Even users without the TEMU app are subject to TEMU's gross overreach if any of their information is on the phone of a TEMU user. TEMU monetizes this unauthorized collection of data by selling it to third parties. Apparently, TEMU was surprised by this lawsuit, and they say the allegations in the lawsuit are based on misinformation circulated online, primarily from a short seller, and are totally unfounded. So regardless as to whether or not all of this is true, I'll drop a link to the Ars Technica article in the description below, and I do recommend checking it out. It may be worth learning more about the situation. Because who knows, it may be proven to be true. That's the whole reason it's going to court. And last up, we're talking about an indie game that copied another indie game almost directly. So the initial indie game here is called Make Room, and the copy of the game is called Flora Corner. Now the developer of Make Room says it is absolutely disheartening to see my game get copied to such a degree, down to the little sounds. I give a lot to the community, but please don't just copy my game. This sucks to see. It rips the fun out of being creative. Now, from my understanding, the developer of Make Room releases a whole bunch of free assets on a normal basis, and I guess someone just took all of those free assets and made the exact same game, or at least one very close to it. Fortunately, there's a good ending here. Kenny says, "We've settled our differences, all good. They took their inspiration a bit too far, and it was uncomfortable for me to see. I've since offered my help and a positive shout out once things have been changed a bit. Do not harass them. Use your energy to spread positivity instead. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate. Save your state.